But, you know, so coming out of 13, going into 14, this is where you are undergoing the rites of passage, which lead to you learning about and receiving the permission to utilize the frequency of Otara, which is it's the high G. It's really simple. It's the high G. But it is the tone that we call out to the angels when we need assistance in the universe. So you're going to be moving here into a lot of alteration. You're starting to help souls more and more and more. So you need to learn how to call for assistance, and you learn about the frequency of Otara, which is the sign of the sound of the high G. But there's also the sign of Otara as it appears in the sky, which I believe here, yes, it's in the chapter so you can see it.
Oh, wow.
That's what it shows up as. When you call the angels into service, this is the sign you will see before they arrive. It's beautiful because it's very power-packed. And then you will be going through rites of passage, which lead to receiving your wings. And that is, of course, going to be at the conclusion of a great deal of service. You do a lot of service. When you've completed whatever it is that's deemed, you know, what you're supposed to be completing, then you will be called forth to receive your wings. And, you know, so there's a lot that will happen in here. You know, and again, you're continuing to learn mystical language. You know, all of these things are part of this mystical language that becomes second nature to us as we travel through the rites of passage. One thing I loved here is from Umilta of Faenza from 1310. She speaks of the holy angels. She said, "Whoever wishes to learn by hearing a divine speech must be silent with great interior joy. A still heart is a loving heart, which listens with a kind of ardent fever and receives inwardly the sweet allurements of holy words." Therefore, whoever goes out to gather divine speech ought to do so with wonder and great delight. Even those who suffer great pain or grief, as if in a kind of stupor, even these can be awakened to the melodious cadence of the speech. She speaks how God dignified the angels with every adornment, placing them above the firmament. God gave wings to each so that those messengers who carry extraordinary news of the most noble magnitude might fly quickly, crossing any barrier, reaching every height. Since they are spirits endowed the power of the Most High, they make a song that no other creature is able to sing. I think that's very well stated. And, you know, yes, the frequency of Atara is demonstrative of that. So
it's pretty amazing. It reminds me of like when I was in Egypt and some of the hieroglyphs. There's something that's, and I know it's maybe not a, you know, angelic language or anything, but there's something that's spoken to the unconscious, whether one knows about it or not. And so even like if we speak of Luxor and Schwaber de Lubitsch, he wrote a book of the Temple of Man. And so when the Egyptians, they built this as a temple for adepts, right? And so actually, if you go into the top of the pyramid, it's actually, they knew about the pineal gland and they knew about the pituitary gland. And, they knew
Right.
these things like, thousands of years ago, but like the whole temple was built like on man. And so you go into like the area of the torso and they had all these ancient teachings, but what the initiates would do is they go in there and they would just sit in that part of the temple and not necessarily sit there and read it, but just kind of take it in by just being in there. And they could go in there for months and just hang out and just be in that energy. And so when I was going to the temples, I would just hang out, man. I would like take my time. I'd go around the perimeter slowly,
Yep.
and then I would, just go into one part and I'd just be there for a long time. And then all of a sudden I'd see like this crew of people come in and this tourist guide go, now this is the blah 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 and this is the this, and people go and then they'd move on to the next section. I was like, what? You were totally missing the whole purpose of this. But that's what it made me think of when you were talking about.
Yeah, and that's well said too, because that is what we are trying to do when we are taking that in. You know,
Interesting because we talk about the 7 chakras and the sealing of the 7. And so we started out with the 28 mysteries. And, I'm drinking caffeine, like I said, I know, but that's very ego. It's very ego, very third chakra stimulating. And, I kind of felt like the need to do, as we talked about. And it stopped at the 7th mystery. And then we went to the 8th mystery, above that. I just kind of sat back and, more allowing of things to just happen organically. And it's a totally different vibe. And it's really cool because it's like a flowing river now.
yeah,
Where I felt like I
yeah.
was kind of like getting in the way and then causing you to go to places where now it's just after that 7th, maybe that was just necessary and it was just ironic and symbolic in some ways. And now it's just it's like, even though we've both been we've been recording for like 6 hours, it's still like it's we're used to this where we're communicating, we're going back and forth, and I get out of the way and so you can share your experience. And so it's been nice to like get back to that. Because we're like, all these notes, but it's like, no, it's not necessary. Just let Marilynn go. Let her free. So I didn't mean to get in the way of anything.
Oh, you
How,
didn't. No,
yeah.
it's fantastic when you interject there. Yeah,
So yeah, so where are we at right now? How are you feeling?
we are about to go into the 15th.
Bye.
One thing that I think we should hit on, though, I must, even though I'm trying not to just read from the book, but I
No,
have
it's
to read
okay.
this.
No. And I
Because
don't
this is
want to.
Jacob Bohm, and I already told you how I
Yeah.
feel about Bohm,
And I love like that you're, and right behind your head, people can't see it, but it's giant like bone book there. It's like
Oh,
people.
yeah, the Aurora.
Oh,
That's the Aurora, yes.
yeah.
Yes, my buddy.
No, and I think
Yeah.
it's really cool that you're reading out of your big tome there. It's
Well,
yours.
this is from The Life and Doctrines of Jacob Bohm. This one was translated by Franz Hartmann in 1891. But he says this is St. Martin speaking about Bohm. St. Martin, so Claude de St. Martin. There in the higher world, it is not like in our dark dwelling place, wherein sounds can only be compared with sounds and colors with colors, and substance only with that which is directly related to it. There, all things are more closely related with each other. There, the light is sounding. Melody produces light. Colors have motions because they are living. And the objects are all at once sounding, transparent, moving, and can penetrate each other. You know, that reminded me again, going back to what we were talking about earlier with the light and sound, you know,
Mhm.
and I love the way that he captured that, because that is exactly how it is in the mystical spheres. Beautifully stated by Saint Claude de Saint Martin about Jacob Boehme. And so there you have it there. So here you go. This is, you know, the 15th mystery of the Sphinx, the 5 concentric circles, and the loops into the dimensions. To obtain the ethereal construct of the 4 corners of creation, enter disintegration of spirit, and obtain the stamp of the immortal, so as to commence the only true quest. And so, you know, this is what's going on. When you enter into the mystery of the Sphinx, you realize very quickly that we only see portions of the mystery of the Sphinx. You have to enter the Sphinx into the ethereal to see what is missing on the Sphinx. And I don't know if I should give it away or not. It's given away in the book, but I don't know if I should give it away now. But, you know, but this is, within the mystery of the Sphinx lies the mystery of the 4 corners of creation. That comes down to the symbols of the lion, eagle, man, and the bull. And since I am doing this right off the cuff, I have to see if I wrote down in here. Oh, there they are. The original Sphinx holds the image of the lion and the man. And the horns of the bull are not visible on the physical Sphinx, nor are the wings that the Sphinx has in the ethereal sphere. And what these represent, the lion, eagle, man, and bull, are the 4 corners of creation. And there's many references to this as well, in, like, even in the book of Revelations, they speak of the throne, where the creature resembled a lion, and the second was like a calf, the third had a face like that of a human being, and the fourth looked like an eagle in flight. So interesting, you find in the book of Revelation some of the mysteries that are revealed in the actual Sphinx, which is Egyptian. But this is what you're going to find in all the rites of passage. You're going to find that there are things that work together in the within the many contexts of different religions, etc. And so, you know, I tried to paint the Sphinx the way that I saw it inside the interior temple. And that is that he has the horns and he has the wings. And so again, the rites of passage are now taking you into some of these mysteries that have to do with creation itself, because we cannot become movers in the force of creation till we begin to understand how evolution works through these symbols. I mean, it would be impossible really to capture into words what that actually means. But the concentric circles is a specific thing where you're going to learn how to manifest in and out of realities. The ability to, which is in here, the disintegration of the spirit. So you're learning how to appear and disappear in various realms, specific spaces in ether. And again, this is moving forward from what you were learning in the 7 levels of heaven, being able to manifest from one energy, from one level of heaven into another sphere of heaven. Now you are learning how to appear and disappear into different realities. So you're learning to basically be movable amongst all realms of creation, where you are no longer one construct sitting in one place. You've become literally all things, with the ability to move amongst all of creation. And so that's the continuation of it. So I don't know if it's making sense.
Yeah.
Is this making sense, how you start these in stages, and each stage takes you to a different level of transport, and how do you do this? And it continues. And there's these various rites of passage. The concentric spheres is one of the rites of passage where you learn about disintegration, manifesting in and out of realities. And so
I like when you do the eyebrow move.
you like that eyebrow move? I'm glad somebody likes it.
It's just the left, when you do just the left one. It's like,
okay.
when you try to do it, you can't do it. That's a good look, though, for you. You should.
Thank
yeah,
you.
like that.
Thank you very much.
I just take a snapshot.
But in here, you're traveling into more of the pyramidal structures, back into the tomb, the king's tomb, the empty tomb, and finding these keys to these passages. And much of these rites of passage here have to do with resurrection. Now, so again, remember we kind of talked about resurrection already, but we kind of did it ahead of time. Okay, so we were in the Star of Bethlehem and the birth of the Messiah. But here in this 15th mystery is where some of the mysteries of resurrection are going to be revealed to you. And of course, you're going to travel through this in terms of how Christ experienced it through Christ's life, because Christ's life is the model of the redemption. But then you're also going to go through these things in the Egyptian temples, which is very interesting, because what we're finding in this is that, at least in the experiences that I had, and in the experiences that many souls have shared, there is a genuine unity in these teachings between the Egyptian rituals of passage and these symbols of Christ's life. But of course, even with Christ, most of you who are watching are probably familiar as well with, the resurrection story with Isis and Osiris and Horus. And so there is a resurrection story that, dates back to the Egyptian era. And so, there's probably more to these things than meets the eye. Now, as with a lot of these things in the rites of passage, things that we see and experience can have many meanings, not necessarily just one. So one of the things that I included in here were some of the different interpretations of the four-winged creatures, in the book of Revelation, and what we see in the symbols of the four corners of creation. Some of these things are thought to be related to the four evangelists. Saint Mark, who represents the lion, the winged lion. Saint Luke is the ox. So Saint Mark would represent the resurrection, whereas Saint Luke would represent the passion. Saint John, the eagle, the ascension. And where is the fourth? Saint Matthew, the winged man, the incarnation. Now, one of the rites of passage, you actually go from different windows of perception that show you the transmutation and transformation of a human soul. And trying to remember right off, it ends up where you go to the eagle, and then even beyond the eagle, there is the star, and then there's the white-winged horse. And these are all different levels of transformation within a human soul. We begin with something very grounded. So it's the, the lion, eagle, man, and bull. I'm going to look this up on the computer so I can try to make that more clear, because the four corners of creation are real important in this mystery.
Well, the lion would be Leo, and the eagle would be Libra.
Good.
The man would be Aquarian, and then of course Aries would be the bull, right? Or no, the
Very
ram.
good.
Wait, ram would be. Wait, not ram. Yeah, bull. Bull is actually Taurus, isn't it?
Good point. Probably. And see, that would be the astrological interpretation. But then, like we're talking about, there's all these different ones. So that one's one of them. And then you have the evangelists. Then you have, let's see what else we can find here on the four corners of creation, because the
and then we have four angels too. That
right,
look over
the four angels. And there's also how these things play out, even like with the native cultures, because they have their own cosmology about these things. Four corners of the sky. And so I'm not finding it online here. It's included in the Mysteries of the Redemption in more detail, because it outlines some of the things that you go through there. But there is this transmutation process. And so the four corners of creation, it means more than this. I'm going to find it, Brian. I'm going to find it.
Are you determined?
I am, because it's important. And if I can't find it online, I know that I will find it in The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall, which I do have. And, just for people who are looking things like these up, when you're looking for the hidden mysteries behind things, Manly Hall's work is an excellent place to go. So let's see if we can find. So we have the apostles, the evangelists there. We have the astrological interpretation. And then there is another interpretation that I see right here, which is where Jesus is shown to contain the qualities of these four corners of creation. And then another version of it is what's called the tetramorph, which has to do with Christianity as well. And let's see if there's a nice, concise definition of the tetramorph: a symbolic arrangement of four differing elements that create some type of meaning. So, four corners of the earth. King of the four corners of the world, quadrants of the world. There are so many to choose from, Brian.
What's the relevance of it?
Good question.
Because I've often wondered, there's, certain angels, for example, that rule the directions, but
right.
Why is that even
important?
Yeah, it's like, yes, the direction. Is it, I don't understand. Maybe it's not for me to understand.
Well, Well, okay. We may just have to cut this little portion out, Brian.
I'll make a note of it. Go to the hand wave. Hand wave.
Do the hand wave. Well, I got lost in the four corners.
Well, what? So we're on the 16th mystery, right?
We're on the 15th right now. But yeah, so let me see if there's anything more here.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, cut this part out, and then let me see here if I can pick up where I messed up there.
How you feeling, anyways?
I'm getting pretty waterlogged. I may have to surrender to the cardiac condition.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to hide it. I'm trying to keep it from showing in the camera.
Oh yeah.
You see me moving closer and closer to the camera. It's like, oh crap, it's starting to.
Oh, is that why you were doing that? I was wondering.
Yeah.
You're bellying up to the bar.
Yeah, I am bellying up to the bar.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I was kind of feeling like the last 10 minutes or so that maybe, energetically it's feeling like it's coming to a close for this session.
Yeah.
We don't need to like push through or anything. I mean, it's 4:40 already, so.
Yeah.
I feel good. Like when we jump back in, and was I too laid back? I'm pretty
No.
laid back, huh? All right, cool.
Fine.
But there is something with the audio that's happening once in a while where it was doing it before when we tested it with Nathan Day.
Oh, really?
Where the volume all of a sudden goes up, then it goes down a little bit. Maybe I can adjust that, but in post.
Well, and I'm just trying to find if I can, here's the thing, and maybe this will work. Here's the thing. When you go through the rites of passage, you experience things like the four corners of creation. And there is something elemental, energetic. In fact, you do meet with the elementals and the spirits that direct that as well. But there is something elemental and energetic that you take within you about these things. And there is an importance to them that is often really not something you can really put into words. But when you're talking about the four corners of creation, you are talking about the origin of life on earth. So again, here we are moving into the realms of creation and creativity. So we're going to be taken to the origin of creation as well. There are certain energetic elements of that are relevant and important for us to allow into our vibration. But we may not come out of it with any words to explain what that adjustment was. This happens with many of the rites of passage and many experiences that we do have in the mystical and out-of-body travel states, where we're taking on the vibration of elements and things. And in that moment, we know and we understand that mystery. And there's importance to it, but it's not something that is contained in words. It is something that is imparted to us in that energy. And so for those going through this, I just challenge you to go through this four corners of creation with the knowledge that you will understand it when it is imparted to you. You'll understand why it's important. But again, it goes back to the birth point of creation on earth, and the birth point of creation itself, which is part of the elements that we are bringing within our soul so that we can become an effective part of creation. Now that we've flipped the mortal seal from the 7th to the 8th, where all potential is now possible, and creation is now something which we are having placed in our hands as a potentiality, as something with which God will work through us and will direct us in our future endeavors and our future travels. So some things are best left unspoken, and this is probably one of them.
And you spoke of in this chapter about transparency.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess this has to do with the emptying of the mortal self and becoming immortal. Become more transparent as we let go of more and more, perhaps.
Ironically, no, that isn't what it's referring to. So this is good you brought this up, because when we're talking about the transparency of the soul, it's very literal in this case, and most of the time in the rites of passage it's not. It's very symbolic. But when we're talking about the transparency, it's literally where the soul is becoming lighter and lighter and lighter vibrationally, and that the soul becomes able to manifest in and out of reality, so that we are able to we can become visible or invisible in a variety of worlds, depending on where God would have us appear or disappear. So this transparency is actually related to the invisibility of the soul and our ability to manifest in and out of realities according to the will of God. It gets more complex, but that's a basic understanding of it.
You also spoke of in this chapter as a soul darting head first, like really like going in with like full strength to have enough momentum to go into the other spaces.
That's
like,
true, and
like
that was especially significant in the rite of the concentric circles, because if you did not go with that full thrust, you had to go with all the energy that you could actually generate. If you did not do that, you would actually fall short of the concentric rings, the concentric circles, and you had to be able to make it through in one full thrust all the way through in order to pass through the rite. Otherwise, it's just like, kerplunk. And you have to go back, try again, keep trying. And so you had to literally, it's this this process in this rite is focusing your intention towards the objective. And in this case, it's the thrust. But this thrust is extremely important, that the soul learns to harness that ability to pull in focus and then generate this thrust, because as you are then moving through the spiritual worlds forward, you have to be capable of knowing how much thrust is required for what you are being asked to accomplish in any given alteration or in any given assistance mission to another soul or groupings of souls or place that you are taken. And so literally what you're seeing here, what you're describing, are all these rites of passage where the soul is learning to harness their own energy in the proper distribution in the service of God, so that whatever you are asked to do, you have practiced so fully and faithfully that you are able to focus and get the correct amount of thrust, whether it's a huge amount or a smaller amount, depending on the need, because the success of the mission will always depend on that. So we are always honing those skills and we're always honing our ability and uh, the way that we are able to carry the energy into the mystical spheres,
Mhm.
so that we will be more effective as we move forward. But you don't necessarily realize that's what you're doing when it's happening. So that's important to point out too, because people will have these experiences and they're like, well, what the heck am I doing that for? Well, that's why we're laying out the map, because it's letting you know you are actually learning. It's like learning to drive a car. You learn things in stages, and you're learning these things so that you will be able to perform whatever function is given to you along the way and in the future. So you are always being given rites of passage, which require more of you energetically, more focus, more intent, more control. So you learn to control and move your energy body according to the motion of the Holy Spirit as it is commanding you to move in the worlds of the spirit towards whatever evolutionary task is presented to you. And in this particular case, I had to like learn to focus and bring all my energy forward to give literally like the nuclear thrust, I had to be able to do that. And so there's a lot of focus required in the rites of passage. You'll hear me talk a lot about working on your distractions. If you listen to any of my other talks, you'll see, watch out for the distractions. That's what's going on. You're learning to focus. That means you're learning to get rid of the distractions that actually make it not possible for you to perform those functions. And so there's this teaching, this process where you hone in your focus. It goes on for years, many, many years, because you will never stop learning how to focus more. Because again, you're going to become more and more one-pointed, which is a Buddhist concept. But the way that I speak of it, your one-pointedness is all God directional. And that's what you're learning to do. You're learning to lasso your own soul in so that you can be most effective.
It's interesting how we put so much energy into our distractions,
Yes, we
or
do.
and
Believe
and
me, I know.
yeah,
I know.
and into our passions, into the seven deadly sins,
We do
uh,
put a lot of energy into those, don't we?
vices, things that are of this earth, and that what's eternally important is kind of a lot of times an afterthought. It's
Yeah.
not, and if we, to the degree that we've thrown ourselves into acquiring, you know, objects of desire, or that which we think is really important on earth, if we were to put that same amount of energy towards our, eternal potential,
Yeah.
uh, what what it could be like for
Yeah.
us.
Exactly. And that's what you're going to be doing throughout these rites of passage. You are always dropping away the dross. You can imagine your soul flying through heaven and all the little bits falling away, the distractions, the disillusionments, the delusions themselves, the habitual behaviors falling off. And it actually, in the mystical spheres, when you're traveling in the heavens, the purgatories, and the hells, what you find very quickly is that everything is related to the weight, literal weight of the soul. And our weight is determined by how many attachments we have, how much sin we carry, how much karma we carry. And so the more of those things we have, the more our soul weighs. And what I was shown in several experiences was, there was this lower hellish realm, and I was experiencing what it was like to be a soul that was entering into a hellish realm, and how literally they just fell into it because their weight took them there. And I was trying with all my might to help push them back out. And what I learned from this was that no, you can't get them out that way. You have to help them to drop the weight. That's how they get out. And so you can't just lift them out. You have to get rid of the excess weight. And so all of these attachments, cravings, fetters, sins, karma, that's what weighs us down. The more we let those go, the faster we fly in the mystical spheres, the higher we can go. Literally, it's like a rocket when you burn the fuel off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So these heavy things are very much actual impediments to the progress of the soul. And they are legitimate concerns for, where are we going to end up after this lifetime if we aren't dealing with any of this dross, any of this weight, because it is, as Emanuel Swedenborg would say, we go where we're compatible. We do. But we also, where we're compatible has to do with the weight on our soul,
Mm-hmm.
And so we go where, so the lighter we become, the higher we can fly.
Kind of like the Egyptian scales, where to see if your soul is as light as the feather. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is like that. It is like that. I mean, it's a scary thing when you see it, just because you realize how easily we can gather up weight, with simple things in this life. And so for those of us who are aware of this impediment, you don't want to neglect doing everything humanly possible to address those impediments. They're very serious. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's call her a session.
But
Yeah.
I think it's also okay that we shift energies as we move through them, because that's exactly what happens
Yeah.
in the rites of passage. There's energetic shifts all throughout. So there
cool.
was a difference in the way the energy was coming, and then I think it's okay that it's shifting again, and it'll probably shift again. Oh my God! No!
What? Yeah.
What?
Pretty soon we'll just have the video off, and we'll just be doing audio, and then we'll be talking in clicks.
Yeah.
Then the last three will be just silence.